When I was thinking about what to do my senior speech over, I asked all my friends around me what they thought I should do it over, just because I didn't really know what my passion was. They told me I should do it over choir, cheerleading, or field hockey, all things that I loved, but nothing that I really wanted to do my speech over. It was then that Mark Wright jokingly said, "Grace, why don't you do your senior speech over being perfect again?" In 2013, when I was in 8th grade, I was in Miss Dredden's advanced writing class for a semester. And in this class, each student gave a capstone presentation, like I'm doing up there. A capstone is basically a 5-minute long speech with a prezi over what your passion was. Now, 4 years ago, I had even less of an idea of what my passion was than I do right now. So I picked a topic that was pretty personal to me and decided to do my speech over self-image, specifically being perfect. When I was younger, I had zero confidence. And when I mean zero, I mean zero. I mean, I consciously beat down on myself and thought negatively of myself just because I didn't really like the way I looked. So when it came time to choose a topic, I knew I would have to do mine over self-image just because my own was so bad. To sum up what I said in this 5-minute speech up here, I basically said that being perfect is unattainable because we all have flaws, how the media and magazines body shame because of these flaws and make people not really like themselves, but how instead of not liking our flaws, we should celebrate them because they're what make us special and unique. Now, when I gave this speech, I'm not gonna lie, I thought I killed it. I thought I totally did great on it, but looking back on it now, I totally missed the mark. I used to define being perfect as what I thought of myself when I looked in the mirror. But in reality, the definition is something that's far less superficial. Instead of thinking of being perfect is not what I look at myself when I look in the mirror. It's what all the other people think when they look at me. Teenagers every day experience pressures from family, friends, schools, even relationships. What a lot of people don't realize is that these pressures can do far more damage to someone's self-esteem than body shaming. This became really true for me. I used to always think of being perfect as being the most attractive. But when I came into high school, being perfect shifted to being the smartest, having the best grades, being the best at sports, and most of all, being the most well-liked. When I was a freshman, I was one of 2 freshmen to make the varsity cheerleading squad, which meant that I was around older girls all the time. Now, I immediately idolized the older kids. I thought that they were so much cooler just because they were older. They could drive and have special hangouts, and that was something that I was really drawn to. And I'm ashamed to say that I spent a lot of my time in high school wishing that I was older. But what I didn't realize at the time was that this infatuation with the older kids was just that, an infatuation. And I wasn't always as mature and grown up as I thought I was. Having these kinds of relationships with people so much older than me was usually fine, but sometimes I would get mixed up in the wrong group. And these times were the ones that I would ultimately be hurt in. At the time, I used to blame these kind of incidents on bad friendships or toxic relationships. But now I know that that's not really true. Because I was unhappy with myself and my own skin, I constantly pushed myself into older circles and less than ideal situations to help make up for my lack of confidence. However, these less than ideal situations, combined with people who are struggling in their adolescence and maturity the same way I was, made for an environment in which I was even more unhappy and damaged than before. Another pressure I've often struggled with is my intelligence compared to that of my family's. I'm by no means a dumb girl, but sometimes my family would make me feel stupid. Having a crazy successful dad and a brilliant mom and a brother who's literally a genius. I mean, have you met James? But it's really intimidating at times. And a lot of the times I would feel inferior to my family just because I wasn't as smart as them. And when it became time to start looking at colleges, these kind of feelings really escalated. I was looking at public universities with honors college programs, while my brother would go to events for MIT or Oxford, schools that I knew I could never get into. And it sounds kind of crazy and ridiculous to say out loud, but this was a huge blow to my confidence, just because I knew there was nothing I could do about it. But struggling in my confidence with my peers and in my own intelligence with my family's. This led me to work even harder to prove myself in other aspects of my life, specifically the Cinderella Charity Ball. Now, I applied for this ball in 2015, and I got rejected. And I don't like to tell a lot of people that because it was really embarrassing and I was really disappointed, but also because it was the epitome of feeling not good enough. But instead of letting that stop me, I took that feeling of rejection and those feelings of being not good enough and used it to fuel me to work even harder, which ultimately contributed to my success in winning the ball the next year. And it sounds so cliche to say, but once I had been crowned, it was like all that other stuff that happened before didn't really matter. Those friends that were not always true friends, those relationships that hurt me not being as smart as my family, and the rejection as the year before. None of it mattered, because at the end of the day, I'm my own critic, and I decide how I let the other people around me influence me. My very favorite Bible verse is Song of Solomon 4:7. It says, "You are altogether beautiful, my darling. There's no flaw in you." I know what you're thinking, Grace, you just spent 7 minutes telling us how no one's perfect because we all have flaws. Wrong. Nobody's perfect. Hannah Montana told us that in 2006. But also, no one has flaws, except for one. But it's not that they're not attractive enough or smart enough or that they're not well-liked enough by the people around them. It's that they have those expectations of themselves to be. So what did I do next after having my big epiphany? Well, I have a newfound love for the class of 2017 because they are the best class ever, and I love them. But I also stopped comparing myself to my brother because at the end of the day, I'm totally fine with letting him be the smartest because I'm going to college. I'm not the same person who gave this presentation 4 years ago. I've grown and matured physically, but also emotionally and mentally. The shift from self-scrutiny to self-promotion has been absolutely amazing, and I have high school to thank for that. So in honor of my capstone, I feel like it's only appropriate to end the same way. Be who you are. Look at the big picture instead of focusing on all the details. Do what you like and what makes you happy, and most of all, love yourself because you deserve it. Thank you.